There he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, I didn't know we were wearing sweaters today. I should have changed.
Yeah, I forgot to send you the memo. That's my bad. Bro, it's code sweater. Get on it.
Oh man, this is awkward. I wore my Ocarina of Time launch T-shirt today.
Oh, wow.
That I cut the sleeves off. It's my gym shirt now. So
That's amazing. I'm kind of jealous, honestly. I actually have a pile. It's just outside camera. I have a pile of novelty T-shirts I pull out whenever I'm feeling whimsical. Some of them have been sent by fans. They're mostly memes about the Last of Us TV show. I'm going to be real.
oh no. Oh.
But it's okay. Okay, well, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this. I know we're all excited to talk turkey about Crimson Desert. So I appreciate the gosh darn heck out of you.
Of course. Yeah, I mean it's I'm doing the rounds. I'm surprised I still have a voice over this past week, but at the same time, like, it's important. I keep telling people that that there are different audiences. Like, there's our audience that's been paying attention to the game for 6 years, and then there's a huge audience that's thousands of times bigger than that that's still never even heard of the game. So just because we're repeating some of the same information, hopefully there's with every news beat there is additional information that comes out. But if you've been following the game, not all of this is for you. Some of it's to catch some of the other people up. So I don't think some of the people, I love our Reddit, but I don't think some of the people on our Reddit fully grasp that.
Yeah, well, and I was telling people before we hopped on that some of the stuff that you know I'm going to ask you to just give a rundown on, they're probably familiar with, and I'm sure you've given the answer 16,000 times. But it's good to just give everybody a good baseline as we kind of get a little more specific as our talk kind of goes on. So if you'll indulge me with those questions, you're like, I got to say this again. It's good for laying the foundation.
You've talked to me enough. Like, nothing's off the books in terms of what you can ask. However, there's some stuff that we are holding back, either because it's literally not finalized yet, or because it's still in a beat that we have planned prior to launch.
Absolutely.
So I do commit that I will never give you a non-answer of no comment. I'll talk around things, but I will never shut any question down.
Okay, perfect. And I think that's fair. And I mean, of course, for everybody listening, there's things like, if we ask you about like performance targets for console, that's still in flux. You guys are still working on that, so it's not like you can come here.
Yeah. And just to be clear, because this is one of the pain points that came out over the past week that I was talking about, that's not because we're hiding it. Mm-hmm. That is, like, to be very clear, we are not hiding performance targets. I just don't want to talk about a number that is not finalized yet, because it can get better. If we release a hard empirical number, then that becomes the news. So optimization, this is standard for all video games. I forget, working and publishing for 20 years, that there's some things that are endemic, understanding working in this space, and this is the final step for every game ever that's ever been released and manufactured as optimization. So this is completely normal, standard thing. However, in this phase, a game goes from good to great. This is the phase where a game really becomes and sings and shines. So those performance targets, like, we have our internal targets that we're trying to hit, but we don't want to commit to something. We don't want to publish numbers until it's finalized and it's an auditable fact.
Right. Well, and I think that, to your credit, you've been making the rounds, you've been talking about the game, you've been at, freaking every show, every conference, letting people actually try it. And I think it brings us to probably one of the first things I just want to ask you, which is probably the most common thing I've seen people bring up with Crimson Desert. You know, it's just simply the claim that this looks too good to be true. And what I've pointed out is that it looks amazing, but they've also let people try it. They've let people play it more than probably most games that are coming out this year. I mean, frankly, it's been very available for people. But I'll throw that to you, let you answer it. People say this game looks too good to be true. Is it?
There's and to be fair, this is an internal battle that we have too. About we see the comments on the internet about you guys are releasing too much information, too much footage. Like leave something to be discovered at launch. There's internal camps on our side that like we debate those things as well. There is so much in the game that we still haven't talked about and shown. The breadth of the systems, the breadth of the game, I really, really don't think that anything that we're showing is a spoiler for fans. It won't dilute their experience because the world, it creates a sense of wonder that and because each individual approach will change your experience with things, then showcasing one experience doesn't spoil it for you if you take a different approach. So that's kind of an overarching thought that's guiding my answer to your question. Answer to your question specifically, because the game has changed over 6 years, some of the stuff that was put out there originally isn't even relevant anymore, which is tough because that came from official channels. If you look at the announced trailer in 2019, in November of 2019 at G-Star, in that, on stage, we had from official Pearl Abyss, this is a MMO. It is a prequel to Black Desert Online. The official communication from the company. That video is still up on our YouTube channel. And some people watch it and they get confused because it's still available. And that's communicating from the official source. None of those things are true anymore because development has shifted. I've talked about this a lot, about how in order for a game to come into its own, development shifted, and it had the ability to become its own thing and shine in its own way, not be overshadowed by the initial premise that it was being made into. So that's a difficulty. And I think that spurs the conversation of, is this game too good to be true? Because there's different narratives from different time periods. While some of the information from years ago is still accurate and is still relevant to this game, pay attention to the past year. Mm-hmm. Just if you're looking at marketing, if you're looking at videos, pay attention to Gamescom 2024 50-minute gameplay reveal and forward.
Cap. Are there
anything before that? Just ignore that. In all fairness.
Well, it's changed so much. I mean, 6 years for a team as big as the team that's working on it.
Right.
It's just,
and assets that came before that, some of the stuff in there, you can encourage the conversation of, oh my God, there's everything. There is a lot in this game, and I think that it's natural to have that. It's natural to have some hesitancy to fully buy in to something, because I've never fully played a game like this. I've never worked on a game like this, so this is very fun and exciting to me too. But everyone's been burned so much in the past that it's natural to have some hesitancy when people are saying it. That's why I think, to your point, we're not just saying believe me, we're saying play it. Play it for yourself, for extended periods of time, at multiple touch points, and then let's talk about it on top of that.
Right. Well, and I mean, part of the discourse around this looks too good to be true, I think, is also just, you guys show some gameplay, some sweeping vistas, particle effects, the graphics, the scale of what you're trying to do. And I think a lot of people, and you and I talked about this before during our New Game Plus showcase interview, I think people look through the lens of what they've experienced. They look through the lens of Unreal Engine, for example, or the Creation Engine, and they say, well, to do this, it's going to run like X, Y, and Z. It's going to have these stutters because Unreal Engine games have those stutters. But you guys are using a proprietary tool set that you built for this. Could you speak a little to that engine, how that came about, and what its capabilities are?
Yeah, I sat in a long, multiple discussions during GDC this past year, where the tech team behind the engine spoke at length about it, so I'm actually pretty well informed on this topic. But so when they started making this engine, they wanted to make an engine from the ground up that was built to create open world games. UE5, like we love our partners at Epic. Like they make an incredible engine. I've worked with UE over the years, and one of the common critiques is that specifically open world is hard to do historically on UE. Because of various reasons. I've not commenting about UE5 or anything about that, but historically that has been the case. That is difficult to do open world well. So there's cheats that you do with camera angles in order to reduce draw distance and the amount of assets on screen, LODs specifically, on screen at the same time to reduce the resource load. But with this engine, it's designed from the ground up to focus on creating these open worlds. So with that, you don't have that same one size fits all approach, where this is tailor made for this type of experience. Where that becomes important is for resource optimization, specifically in how those LEDs, those level of details, are prioritized within draw distance and rendering. There's very, very technical terms about how they do it through our own proprietary technologies combined with great middleware partners to be able to make all of this possible and seamless in an open world. But it becomes not noticeable, and like which is funny. And the devs they're such perfectionists that when I look at other open world games, and I played the final versions, I was playing Yote or CDPR, I was playing Cyberpunk, just to I want to compare launched games with where we are in development. And I'm seeing pop-in. Pop-in is just a thing that happens in open world games to a certain extent. The huge difference is it immersion breaking? So I think we'll never say that we've solved the problem of pop-in. But because like in open world games, like that will just be a thing just because of the size and scope and scale of everything on screen. You'll notice it can be noticed to a certain extent. But is it immersion breaking? That becomes the kind of the grounding question.
Sure.
And we should compare like to like. Like compare launch games to launch games. And to your specific question of technologies and like, are they able to do this from an optimization standpoint? Consumers are used to what you said earlier. Consumers are used to what they've seen and what they know, and UE5 is what most people know. This would terrify me if it was running on that engine. it's just not, again, like a still screenshot, no problem. Like it could render that, like it's just no problem. But panning the camera on those vistas with those thousands of LEDs, those trees loaded in, and then diving from the abyss down with no loading, that's scary. And it's because of how the team optimized and what their focus was in the technologies. It just kind of works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's to the team's credit. For anybody not aware, the team went gold 2 months before launch, and so now you guys are content complete, just polishing,
which is standard. Like it's like, again, like the discourse online of, oh, that's so early. For replication purposes, you need to go gold 8 to 10 weeks in advance. That's standard.
I think a lot of it is that people, as you've probably noticed, there's a lot of I don't know what the exact term would be. People are really hoping that Crimson Desert is what it appears to be, right? Like it looks so good. and people have been burned so many times by games that look really good, and then they play them and they run like garbage, or they're actually only 6 hours long, or whatever else. And I think what makes Crimson Desert so fascinating is the team that it's coming from as well. Like, this is an experienced developer that has not made single player game like this before. But as the years have gone by, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like the team has been built up specifically for this type of game, and they've built out not just the tool sets but the team to create this game in particular. It's not like this is the MMO team that's doing this on the side.
Correct. And that's like where other publishers have different development offices. Like, I'll use Ubisoft as an example. Ubisoft San Francisco, Ubisoft Montreal, Ubisoft Massive. Like, they have different studios. We have one building that houses two separate dev teams. And the dev team, the new IP dev team that is focused on Crimson Desert, is a separate team from the ongoing and live service dev team that focuses on Black Desert Online. So it's one, it didn't take away resources from one dev team to the other. We built up a secondary team to focus on new IP. But it's housed within the same building, which creates confusion because it's one studio, technically, yes, two dev teams.
Right. So I think with this, you know, there's a bunch of questions in chat, and I can throw those out to you. Yeah. There's a couple.
Before you do that, I want to talk real quickly about one thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
We've been very, very careful. We don't want to overhype something beyond expectations. So when we talk about this game, we're relying on direct experience. You play the game, you played it at SGF. You sat right next to me playing it at SGF. We're taking it to showcase that. Because at the end of the day, like, expectations become something that's outside of your control. So we want to set, like, this is a massive game with all these systems, and it's built upon, like, how do you have fun in this sandbox world? But it's reliant on people's experiences. So when I talk about the game specifically, I'm not going from, like, this is trying to overblow something. I'm talking about literally my experience playing the game very often, because that's going to be the closest parallel for players about what they're going to experience. It's going to come back to someone else's individual experience. So I do want to just point out that we're incredibly conscious of that as a team, that we want to relay individual experiences so that they can parallel to what players will ultimately experience when the game launches.
Sure. And I mean, anybody who knows me knows I appreciate an attempt to not overhype something, because it's a blessing and a curse. And I find that I can only imagine how difficult it is to be in your shoes, where you're trying to, like, both get people excited for the game, because that's how you sell games, that's how you get people to play it, right? But then you also don't want to go so far, you know, telling sweet little lies to the point where, you know, maybe it's a half truth, maybe this thing.
I would never, just to be clear, sweet little lies or sweet big lies.
It doesn't work. It always catches up to you, right? Like, because the internet has a fantastic memory, and people will be like, oh, well, he said that I could do this, but I can't actually do that. And people lose their minds.
Your credibility is all you have. I mean, you look at other developers. If you plant a tree, you come back to it later, and you could chop down that tree. I mean, we're not saying any of those things. Like, if we are talking about a feature in the game, it is in the game, and you can do it.
Yeah.
So we want to be very, very clear. If that is a feature that is communicated, it is something within the game, and you will be able to experience it.
Yeah. Well, and with that, I also want to talk about with expectations before we get to audience questions and stuff. In this deep dive that you guys shared just a few days ago, the feature overview, you mentioned
one of the feature overviews.
Yes,
this is number one in a series
Yes, it sounds like you're going to have one deep diving into progression. So I imagine like skill trees,
Yep.
stuff like that. One on, I think you described it as life
Combat.
and
Yeah,
combat.
so progression and life skills and like things to deep dive on things to do in the world, as well as a combat focus one.
Okay. So lots more to dig into, guys. Buckle up for that. We've got more reactions to do for sure. But one of the things you mentioned in this number one was the additional protagonists. Could you speak a bit to that? Because that, I think, for a lot of people was like, what? Took people by surprise.
Again, level setting expectations. Not protagonists, playable characters.
Playable characters.
There is
okay.
one central protagonist. You are Cliff. You're your version of Cliff through your skill sets. Like there are ways that you can do light RPing, like in terms of how you progress and make Cliff your own. But central protagonist is Cliff. And then through the main storyline, these two additional playable characters will be unlocked that you could freely go between, explore the open world, do non-main storyline quests with, to be able to. And as I've said many a times, that's the main crux of the game. Like the crit path, the main game is very important, and it's kind of the thread that pulls you through the game in order of player motivation and advancing you through. But the majority of content is going to be all this side content, this faction content, and I never want to be definitive and you can do everything. You can do a vast majority of that with these additional characters that have very different play styles. They have different equipment that they can unlock or they can equip versus Cliff. So you've seen the hand cannon on Unka the orc. There's guns with Demian and a great sword. So it's not only different equipment, it's different move sets. Her grapple's really cool. She does like this flying leg lock. Her wrestling moves are really cool. So different mocaps for the different characters and everything too. So it becomes, what playstyle do you want? And that's kind of thematically where I keep going back to of, it's a sandbox. How do you want to play in it?
Right. Well, and one thing you mentioned in the interview you did with Destin, Destin was in chat earlier. I'm not sure if he's still here, but great interview. I checked it out.
That was at 8 a.m. So if I said anything of that, I'll be apologies to her.
Well, it was very good. And there were a lot of good tidbits in there. One of the things you mentioned, though, kind of off the cuff, was how you've had the, of course, chance to play the game a good amount yourself over the last handful of weeks. And one of the things you said was that you got through the story and then you realized that there was stuff that as a member of the team you knew was in the game that you had quote unquote missed, right? And for me, I love the idea that I can play an open world game and not every little bitty thing is being force fed to me or my hand isn't being held and dragged over there. So could you speak a little to like the idea that the world, like how they've built out the world such that there's so much that you can miss it and that, you're not trying to force feed everything to everybody. Everybody's going to have different experiences.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to repeat what you just said. No.
Ditto.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to compare it specifically to any one game, but that particular element reminded me a lot of my own experience in Elden Ring. Where after I beat Elden Ring, I was looking online because I don't want any spoilers while I'm playing a game. And someone talked about the town of the living pots. And there's a huge thing about how this was the most moving thing for this particular writer that he experienced in the game. I never even found that place. Like, this is a huge thing. It was the most important, most impactful thing that he saw, and I didn't even know it was there. It was that for me. That was my experience where it's like, oh my God, like this, I just didn't do this quest line. because it wasn't overt. It didn't hit me over the head with it. It was it was like one quest that it started in one place, and that started the branching path, or the path for this quest, and I just never took the first step. And that guides you to a whole new area. It unlocks your ability to visit that area. Without this quest line, you're forbidden to enter this area. You get thrown out. So your own personal path and progression can change the areas you explore and ultimately your experience with the game, which I find to be really cool, especially in a game with a set storyline and plot and ending, that each player's experience can be drastically different. In that sense, it's very much similar to like in Elden Ring style of the plot's going to be the same. Like you're going through the same thing, but your experience within the world, because of the decisions and everything you're making, is going to be very different. If you're talking with your friend, it's a lot of, oh my God, did you do this? And that's where I think this game really sings for me. Like we have a room where we have like 4 PCs and we're all playing at the same time. And it's a lot of people like, I found a sweet weapon. And then everybody goes there and gets that weapon. That was my experience when I was playing Fallout 4 for the first time. Single player game, but I played it in party chat with a bunch of my friends, and we were all sharing, I found this cool thing, go here on the map. That's how I think people are going to play this game.
Sure. I can already see the TikToks in my mind already of like, did you know you can find this amazing greatsword in this cave if you go around here? I can already see it happening.
Yep.
With that, I think I just a question. I understand if it's something you're going to cover later and you can't address it.
You can ask me anything. I've said that at the start.
Okay. With this obviously being focused a lot on side content and exploring, how's the team handling like fear of getting too powerful by we've all done it. You play the main story for 10 hours, then you go spend 30 hours doing side content, and then the main story is a breeze for the rest of the game. How have you guys balanced like that, making it so you don't just get so powerful by doing side stuff that the main story is a joke?
Well, certain things like you can't use the mech and the dragon in like one-on-one boss fights. Like certain things like that is just mitigates you being able to fire rockets at a dude with a sword and shield. But that's not to say that there aren't boss fights where you use the dragon or anything. Like, don't come for me, internet. But you can't use those for like bosses where that isn't an intended playstyle. So the reason I'm pausing is because balancing is still being done, and balancing is still a thing that if the game launches and a boss is way too difficult, then there might be additional balance like post-launch. Like that's not something that's out of the realm of reality. But there are currently systems within the game and ways that you can craft items and materials by preparing in advance to make even very difficult challenges a lot more approachable, which is, I think, really important. The way I phrased it is there's no moment where you just have to get good and you're just beating your head against a wall. You can over-prepare and make things accessible to you if you spend enough time like properly preparing for fights.
Sure.
The opposite is true but I don't think, in my personal experience, I never had in the boss fights and the kind of progression gatekeeping instances, I never had a moment where it was too easy, even like hyper leveling up. So I haven't personally experienced that yet. I think that sure, you probably can if you crazy over level, but again, your level is gear based, so there's there's smart ways of limiting how much you can advance your upgrade of your gear by changing the material requirements at certain thresholds of materials that are only in that area that you're in.
Right. And to get to a new area, presumably you have to progress in the main story, and that kind of steps you through.
Yes. It's like, so that's how it's managed to make sure you're not just like, cool, I'm gonna upgrade my starting weapon to level 10 and just wail on dudes or whatever.
Yeah.
In my experiences, it has balanced really well.
All right. Well, and that makes perfect sense, being like, you know, in this Vista that we have a screenshot of on screen right now, with the crafting materials available there that can get you to gear level X. Yep. But if you want to reach gear level Y, you got to go to the next region, and that's locked behind the campaign. Sure. So you kind of are
theoretically, you can go, like, again, open world, it is unlocked. This is a strict definition of, it's an open world. You drop you in, you can go anywhere. Mm-hmm. If you know where those resources are, you can go there from the beginning of the game and get those resources. Like, theoretically, you could do it. Are you going to be going into very dangerous areas where you'll probably get wailed on really fast? Yeah, in order to do so, but you could. But that's if speedrunners wanted to get their hand on the game and try it, which is the crazy thought to me.
Dude, I'm excited to see it. Can you imagine?
That is the thing that I'm most excited about. I can't wait for other people to get their hands on the game. And just like the experience I was talking about where I was learning from other people in that room for PCs, I'm going to learn so much from other players playing the game, because they'll have a different approach than I had, than we've all had. So we'll learn so much from players on day one.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you about something. Because you've got experience with the game, you've seen, and of course know a lot more than we do, but you are in this position where you're trying to promote the game, you're framing it, you're discussing it, you're trying to focus on certain things and manage expectations elsewhere. But I want to know what you think is not getting enough attention. Like, what is something about Crimson Desert that people have overlooked, or that has not gotten enough love, that you think is going to be a standout when people get their hands on it?
It's a good question. I like the quiet moments. Like, I think that everyone plays it differently. The first thing I do when I go into town is I'd rip all the bounties off the bounty board and like just start getting to know the area. And I think that those things of just kind of the day in the life, or the daily life within the world, that's where you can really have a lot of fun, because that's where those become like your stories. But there's one character that I'm being very careful of spoilers here. There's one character, a member of the Greymanes, that he has my favorite dialogue. Like, I love this character so much. And every time he's on screen, I just like smile, because he's just a drunk idiot, and I love him. But I think that there's moments like that we haven't shown that at all. But he's just a lovable character that you just kind of follow. Like, I fell in love with it. So that's the fun thing of, like, in between all of this open world side content and everything, like, there's still a cool story and characters that you're gonna really like that are within this world.
Mm-hmm. Some of those quieter things that people might not that aren't as flashy, you know, they don't show as well in trailers.
We were really loud and aggressive for about a year, focusing on combat. So I think that there's a lot of the game outside of combat that it's now an opportunity to showcase.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and people are, I've seen people ask about that, where it's like, you know, what are you doing in the quiet moments, and what's all that look like? Which I can clearly see that you guys are starting to focus on and showcase. So if you're okay with it, I'd love to go through some of our audience questions, and you can answer what you can. with these, for everybody in chat, I've been keeping an eye on some of your comments as you've submitted them, so I'll just kind of go through them and we'll see what we can get. We have about 25 minutes left, so we'll just work through them as best we can.
I'll talk fast.
Yeah, because there's a lot. First question. Let me find the one that I had pinned. I know it was asked by multiple people. I'm sorry, I can't do a specific call out. People are asking about are there any intentions to do a demo for the game?
We'll see. I mean, that's I never want to say I never want to shut down the possibility of anything. Right now, we are for promotional purposes. We are focused on getting the game in the hands of a ton of people before launch, in order to ease concerns about the game as a whole. Candidly, this is a very hard game to demo in a limited amount of time, and I think that you can attest to that. Like a 1 hour vertical slice isn't representative of the game, so the challenge becomes like, what do you present if you're gonna put forth a demo that is going to be representative of the experience? And I don't know if there's a good answer to that personally. Okay. It's never, I'm not going to say never is never, but it's a matter of what do we even put forth that's going to be representative of the whole experience for a limited amount of time. Because for press, even, we put forth a combat demo, which was a boss rush. Bosses aren't even a huge part of the game. We did one chapter where you play, that's probably the most representative, but that's a very set piece combat siege battle. You played that one. Mm-hmm. And those are the two like big things that people have played. Neither of those would be appropriate for a demo, because it's in isolation that wouldn't convey the whole experience of the product. Sure. So I think that we need to be careful. It's not something that's fully decided upon. I don't want to say yes or no definitively in either direction.
Okay.
But we hear you, and it is something that is consistently contemplated on our side.
Okay. Goblin Slayer asks, when can people expect to see footage on platforms other than on PC?
Before launch.
Got it.
As we are planning on answering those questions ahead of launch. Again, sometimes plans change, but like we are, I'm painting myself a way out of that question because I'm not fully in charge of dictating everything, and sometimes things change. We want to answer those questions ahead of launch. We're not hiding things. We want to show things off. It's dependent on the optimization stuff. Again, I will go back and say we have shown off console footage. Some people in Europe have played the console version. But for everyone at home, you can look at the State of Play trailer that was captured on a PS5 Pro. So that is direct capture from console. And since all the cutscenes are done in engine, that is gameplay.
Okay. Got it. Let's see. PRW, is there gonna be multiplayer?
No.
Boom. The I can't read it. Lovel Rotten, I think. Raton, I don't know. How long will the campaign be?
It'll be significant. I'm not evading the answer to this question. It's just it's really tough to set a time limit on an open world game because people don't play strict crit path when they play open world games like this. The way the core design philosophy around the open world is around creating distractions for players. So when you hit a quest objective and you're doing that, on the way there, you'll often get distracted by other things. And that's how this world operates. So I don't think anyone, even internally on our side, has tried to just beeline crit path, because you just get distracted. But a significant time investment. But I will caveat that, because the game is meant to be enjoyable in your variety of different activities. So if you want to just sit down and go mining to try to upgrade, like spend an hour in doing that, that's a fun task to do, because you're out exploring the open world. So it is not a grind fest to try to level things up. It is an open world that's ripe for exploration. I don't know how to answer the question on time investment for crit path. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. It is tricky with like an open world game, because it's like, can you beeline the story in like a Red Dead 2? I guess, but if you're doing that, I don't want to say you're playing the game wrong, but you're going to miss out on a lot of what makes that game great, so I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one is a question from Lance. He's asking, can you speak at all about the upscaling options that will be available in the game at launch?
Yeah. So we have great partners. I was just at CES, and I was a partner showcase in the AMD booth. So we're one of the very, very few games that's an FSR Redstone partner at launch. So that was originally FSR 5 or 4 that they renamed to Redstone in order to have for branding purposes. But there's ray regeneration. There's all sorts of technologies within FSR that we'll be taking full advantage of, that you can turn on or off. As well as our friends over at NVIDIA, we have full DLSS support, or you can just turn everything off. Mm-hmm. If you have the hardware to be able to to run at 4K,
to brute force it.
Yeah, basically brute forcing 4K. I will say this. I don't think I've said this officially. We're not frame capping, so there is no hard cap of we're doing frame limiting at 60 or something like that. If your system can support it, cool, go ahead. Generate those frames. And I do think people will be pleasantly surprised by the FPS that the game is running on, because of our proprietary engine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to test it. Okay, follow up, I guess. And you may not know, but do you know if the game is being optimized like natively, or is it being optimized with upscalers in mind?
Natively first and foremost.
Okay.
And then on top of that, because we're working directly with those partners to be able to do that. But those are being done in parallel, not priority of upscalers over native. Because if it doesn't work natively, then that's the foundation of the house. That you need a strong foundation for the upscalers to be able to build on top of. So that's definitely the priority, of making that as solid as possible. And then those upscalers can do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's very good to hear. Costington, in your time with the game, this is great. In your time with the game, have you come across any arrow to the knee jokes?
This is not Skyrim. I don't know if you knew that. This is actually an interview for Crimson Desert.
I've been filtering through questions. I'm like, okay, okay, that's funny.
I was at the Square Enix office a couple of years ago, and they had a Lara Croft statue in their office, and it's pointing down, and I I got in front of it and took a picture with like bent to the knee, like so that the arrow was going into my knee, and made a really bad joke.
It's
But
at this point, it's like core to gaming culture. It's just a classic, you know?
To my knowledge, again, I have not experienced all the content in the game. I have not come across an arrow to the knee joke, but there is. I'm not going to discount the possibility that it's somewhere in the dialogue.
Somewhere a writer had a little fun. Let's see this one. Al Shiley, I think. Thank you for that question. Will there be a central hub, a player house, a place to gather your thoughts, or place collected items? Is there something like that?
Yes. It's something that we're going to talk a lot about more later. But if you look back at the feature video 1, it talks about rebuilding the Greymanes. There is a player camp, and there is going to be housing and a lot that you can do within it. A core central part of the main story is about rebuilding your faction, and that involves rebuilding it, building up this central camp, which functions almost as a central hub. It doesn't need to. I think that's the core thing I keep coming back to, is we lay out all these options. Like the way that the design approach is like, you can come back to that. It serves most of your needs, especially within the area where it occupies, one of the regions. And then you can prepare for what you're going to do next there.
Okay.
You don't need to though, but it's.
Oh, it froze. It froze. Let's see. Okay, that's better. Okay, we're covered. I think we're good again. Real quick, this is cool. I just wanted to let you know, Cory Barlog, the one and only from Sony Santa Monica, is in chat and said, quote, "The game is looking really great. Please pass on my admiration and congratulations for what the team has achieved. Truly cannot wait to get lost in this world."
I love Cory. I don't know if he knows this. We worked together on God of War. So he's Cory is amazing. So huge respect and admiration. I worked on Ascension and Ghost of Sparta. So the great respect for the Santa Monica team and Cory.
That's fantastic. That's super cool. Yeah, small world. That's the thing that I've noticed when you start talking with people like yourself that's really experienced, Cory that's really experienced, is that the industry's big, but it's also very interconnected. There's a lot of crossover where people have worked on all sorts of stuff before and together. It's honestly really, really cool. With this, let's see, Doomwalker is asking, are there plans, or at least is there a goal to get the game Steam Deck verified?
I answered this question the other day, but I'm happy to go into it again. I think the best way to look at it is that's a certification process that's similar to any other certification process. About, we will not guarantee it's verified until it goes through and it meets that process. However, if you look at the min specs on, I know I'm watching my rate fluctuate in the corner. If you look at the min specs on their Steam page, it should work. But there's more to being Steam Deck verified than just meeting the min specs of working on a Steam Deck. There's UI, there's installing Steam Deck. This is a certification process that is more complicated than just does it launch and function on the hardware. So if we can get it working, then we'd love to expand it to, obviously that's a huge audience. Having portable PCs in gaming is something that we love for those players to be able to experience with this game. And that's been the approach. We want to get this game in as many players as possible. So that's definitely aligned with the approach of we're on Steam, we're on Epic Game Store, we're on PS5, X Series X and S, we're native on Mac. That is in line with our approach of we want this game to be there for as many players as possible. So if we can get it verified, then you'll see Steam Decks as well. But I will not commit to that until we can go through that process, because that's something that there is a certification process for.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, and you guys are in the optimization process right now. So if it can get there, I mean, great. If it doesn't quite get there, at least at launch, then so be it. With this, let's see. Just one or two more questions before we let you go and continue doing what you're doing. Question from Studio Anti-Gravity said, super hyped for this, ticks every box for me. Only question mark for me is still the story/narrative. Can you talk on what it's comparable to narratively?
I don't. It's a good question. You're making me.
Stumped him.
You're ever making me think, like it's a good question. I hesitate comparing it to any one game, like, and that's kind of why I'm pausing. And also I haven't experienced the entire breadth of the content within the game, so I don't want to. Anything that is going to be representative is going to be representative of my experience in this. So yeah, it's. I don't know. Like it's tough because there's a central narrative thread. There's a ton of lore, and background information that goes into your codex as you're exploring the world. For those people that love all of their backstory and love all of their like encyclopedic knowledge of the game world. Oh man, this is. Pay attention to the trailers. The trailers are going to get you there. They're going to be representative of the story. Like, the story should be a guiding thread for the player. It's not going to be like, this isn't going to be like the absolute thing that's going to be like. The story's good. Like, I don't want to discount that at all. Like, we have a great writing team, and like I talked a lot earlier about how one of the main gray mains is the character I love the most. So for me and my play style, like, I focus on content and like side content more. So that's where I'm hesitating, because that's what drives me as a player.
Sure.
So that's where like I struggle to fully answer that question, because I'm the wrong representative audience to tell you is the main story like compared to something else, because a lot of times I ignore main story when I play, and it's more about player experience. So that's. I mean, watch the trailers. We're going to talk more about the story before launch. That will give you a better answer than I will, because as a player, I ignore that content more than most.
Sure. Well, and based on my personal experience with the game, which has been, limited, but it seems to me like it's much more of like a Breath of the Wild than a Witcher 3. Like it's more about gameplay dynamics. It's more about adventure than it is.
But like, yes, if you're gonna do it a scale from one side to the other, the problem is, and then there's narrative driven cutscenes in there too. So I don't want to put it on the far scale there, because it's much more in the middle. But like Witcher 3 is like, what drives you through that game is the story. Like, first and foremost, like, that is a story driven game. Like, as a CDPR, like, I've created this immersive story driven world. Amazing. We sit in between those. So that's where it's like, is it more one or the other? It's literally right in between, because you have that central thread that's pulling you through it, but then there's those narrative driven like cinematics and everything that are very heavy story. But it's not Witcher 3 in that sense. Like that is story focused.
Sure. I think this might be our last question before we wrap it up. From Judge Magister, he asks the following: It has been confirmed numerous times that we can turn particles, like the particle effects, off. But what is often overlooked from these questions is if consoles will feature a similar level of customizability. So I think he's asking, can you turn the particle effects down on console, or is that just customizable on PC?
That Again, good question. I haven't seen the exact settings screen on console, so I don't want to verify those things. It should be customized. Want to get one way or the other, fully verifying it.
All right, just to clarify, because it went a little robotic during the answer. So you're saying you can't verify it, but you said it should be customizable on console?
Let me try to fix it again. Are we back?
It's getting better.
Okay. I don't want to say definitively yes or no because I haven't seen that setting screen on console. So it should be a setting, it should be there, but I don't want to say definitively until we can verify it. But I can say at this point that that is a sliding scale that goes from 100% to 0 on PC.
Okay, so it's not just like on off. You can actually tweak it.
You can tweak it.
Okay, cool. Well, this has been great. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I appreciate you coming and being able to answer questions and directly address questions and thoughts from the community and the people that are interested. It's really refreshing because there's plenty of studios and publishers and stuff that just kind of go into lockdown and don't talk about it, but you guys are actually putting it out there and trying to be very transparent and direct, I feel, with what the game is. So I really appreciate it.
Transparency builds trust, and that's the thing, is like, we want, if people are saying this is too good to be true, to me that says, okay, well, you need to trust us. How do you trust people? Is you be open with them about what the game is and what the game isn't, so that there's no confusion.
Right.
So that's what I appreciate. That's what we're trying to do. And it's like, we're showing the big flashy things, and we're also trying to show that there's real humans working behind this game, that are really passionate and look forward to players spending a lot of hours in this world that they spent years creating.
Right. No, and I think whenever, I've said it 1,000 times, when everybody's feedback is this looks too good to be true, it's a great problem to have, because it means they love what they're seeing. They just, like, it's breaking their brain that it's possible. And if the game is actually what it appears to be, then it looks like you guys have something pretty special on your hands.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone in chat. Shout out to my gigabit internet. God.
It's always at the perfect times, it really is. I get it. My power went out. We had a big stream planned, and then my energy company shut off power for my whole city for 11 hours. And so I was like, I guess I'm not covering. I think it was when the Crimson Desert trailer had dropped, and I was like, okay, let's do a deep dive. And then it's just like, nope, you're not. Let's not do that. So I get it. But I appreciate you so much. I know we're all looking forward to the game, and yeah. Don't be a stranger. Yep. You guys are doing great.
Thank you for having me, and always happy to chat if you have further questions. So take care.
Absolutely. Much love, everybody. Thank you. Everybody say thank you, Will, in chat. Everybody say thank you. Good job, everybody. Okay, have a good one.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that was fun. Wasn't that fun? That's cool. That's cool. Shout out Will being willing to do it. Again, it's really just, there's so many companies that would just drop the trailers that look baller and leave it there and just be like, okay, they're getting hyped. Okay. Happy coincidence, they just leave it there. But Will is actually like really trying to come out and share with people what the game is, what it isn't, and be transparent about it, which is really, really, in my view, encouraging to see. And having played the game myself, I can say that it just kind of is what it appears to be. It's kind of insane. I think the one thing like you kind of got a feeling for, I think, is that if you're going to try to play this, I don't think the trailers have depicted the game as though it's some sort of Red Dead 2 level narrative or Witcher 3 level narrative, because I don't think that's what they're going for. I get the sense that this is much more of an adventure game than it is purely like a narrative game first. Like it's adventure exploration, that's the top of the list. And the story is there, but it's just, that's not the primary focus, you know, which personally I'm okay with. Like some of my favorite games ever are primarily adventure games. So shout out to Will for doing that. Very, very nice to see that. You didn't ask the Gooner question, dude. We didn't. Some of you guys might have seen it. We did the New Game Plus showcase, and I did an interview with Will with Luality, and Lua is super fun, but Lua is loose cannon. Lua will ask you anything. She's crazy. Okay, she's great, but she's crazy. The first question she asked, I think it was the very first question, she said, so I saw that you can ride dragons. Can you also lay dragons? It's like, oh, we're coming out of the gate swinging with the hard-hitting questions. Can I sleep with dragons? It's crazy. So I figured I'd leave those questions up to Lua, you know? I'd leave that there. It's like, I'll ask about the really fun stuff, you know, upscalers and you know, playtime, stuff like that. The dragon question's fair though. Yeah, it's the hard-hitting question, tell you what.